All right. Hello. How's it going?
Good.
We're live.
Are
So
we?
you're not banned anymore.
No, I'm not banned. I wish, it was actually quite a good vacation to be honest. I mean, I
24
spent a lot on
hours.
Facebook and, just not to post on Facebook, I took it all out on Snapchat instead.
Do you have a lot of followers on
Yeah, I get
Snapchat?
about 200 people that view my Snapchat, so, I felt valued that, I still had a platform.
You could still get it out there, huh, Sam?
That's right. That's right. You know what's good. Welcome to tonight's stream. So this one's just kind of a recap of kind of the political movement of Atika project so far, and kind of the side of political coverage that we've done at this quality. Kind of just a recap of what's really gone on. And it's been an eventful year. Holy heck! I mean, speak of that landslide win from that red wave. I mean, questions need to be raised, of course, but we won't assume because we might get censored and banned. I don't want to go back to Facebook jail. um, Facebook jail, honestly, it's like going to hell.
Well, especially when you're trying to actually run a news site.
Of course. I had no way to kind of create any articles, I couldn't put anything on our platform, nothing like that. But I mean, there is Twitter, but apparently Twitter's going to be doing the same thing starting December 21st. They're going to be censoring a lot of things. I'll briefly explain that. So, just like Facebook, that if you talk about anything or if you question anything, they'll remove your rights to post until you delete it. So, what world are we living in? A make-believe world?
Are they giving us a list of stuff that we're not allowed to talk about?
Pretty
Are
sure.
I don't know.
I mean, I was gonna make like a Santa joke for a second, but I thought, maybe it'd be a bit dry. I was gonna say like the naughty list, but I don't know if that would, work. Now I'm making myself look like an idiot. But anyways, I'll pass it on to Michael, and he can kind of, just describe. Sorry, that's a tongue twister. Describe the movement so far with the Tika project and kind of what's gone on this year. I mean, it's been a blur, but I'll give the show to you.
Yeah. So g'day everybody. So just got a wet duck.
What? Wait.
We
So,
want to
yeah, look-
stay on Facebook, Mike.
Yeah. Sorry, we're not talking about Pornhub. So,
I didn't get banned on
The,
Facebook for that. I'm telling you. I don't know what you're
we've
talking
probably got
about.
to work out we just have to start spelling things, saying things backwards.
I think so. That could be the next movement, but then they might come up with something like worse than QAnon and conspiracy theories. They might like bring it more, I don't know what they'd come up with. They'll come up with something. The mainstream's up to something, all the time with that stuff.
Yeah. So hey, look, this year's been enormous for us. It's been a huge effort. The sort of the highlight of all of it is actually meeting real people, and forming networks of ideas, hubs. Certainly, that's the only way that we're ever going to resist things that are sort of holding everybody back is that we must remember that we are the majority. And as much as it's like we've started out the first part of the stream, we've got to supposedly be drawn into this battle with an authority. Well, why? We're smarter than that, and we've got to stay.
That's right.
We've got to stay connected. We've got to stay connected as a community. And I mean, the stupid thing is talking about community guidelines when the actual fact is the moment that you enter the situation that Sam's entered, writing news articles or anything like that, it's of the people, it's for the people. If it offends an authority, that's not a real thing. It's not a real person. It's not something that is of our society. It's something that we actually usually largely either elect, or in this case, it's actually a private company that claims it's not a publisher. Definition of a publisher is once you start editing. And so that becomes, and it's in their best interest, honestly, not to start editing. Otherwise, they've got liability issues for the different things that people might share. At the moment, the liability is potentially on ourselves. If we slander somebody personally, that's something that it's up to that individual to however they might feel to rectify that matter. The worst possible situation that we have in this country is if we become a situation where that redistribution of being offended comes at the cost of weaponizing a state against the individual. So that becomes just tattletale stuff, and we just don't want to go down those lines. But so, yeah, I mean, what we've got to, 2021 is on resisting being drawn into those battles where we start throwing bricks at people or stuff like that, and just, work with what we've got, and what we can do as a wider community, responding to the things that are in our community that we really need to respond to, and self-organise from the grassroots up. 5 million people is a fair amount of people. There's only, I think there's probably tops about 400,000 people work in some sort of state services department that, are probably pretty comfortable with their existence. But the rest of us, we're just people, and we want freedom from the authority. And the only way we're going to do that is just forget about them and carry on. Make sure we focus on what's important to us.
That's right.
And because those battles, they can be, imagine taking a court case against Facebook. Like, that's David
Just
and Goliath stuff.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it would cost a lot, for sure.
Well, it's even a waste of time even writing them an email to ask them why you got censored. Because
the main thing is, I'll tell you a little something about writing damn emails to them. You can't.
No.
Everything is run by a damn AI bot. I submitted my Facebook jail, to the support inbox of Facebook, and it didn't even get through for those 24 hours, And I mean, if I did break one of their rules, I'm fine with that. But at least explain why, because they didn't even explain exactly. They just said that we broke a community guideline for posting an article, without warning, nothing like that. Just ban us instantly. It's too much power.
It is too much power. But the thing is, I think, if anything we've learned this year is that if you look at all those, like at all the authoritative figures that seem to rule our lives, you could get really depressed and feel completely useless. And I guess that is exactly what their aim is. So, like Michael said, you've got to look at what you can change and what you can do, rather than always railing against the machine. It's all, and I'm certainly not saying bury your head in the sand. Yes, we have to identify the problem, but when you're over-identifying with the problem, you become useless and powerless. So It's about saying, yes, okay, this is how it is at the moment. What can we do to change this circumstance right now? And it might not be a lot. And then you have to accept that and move on and see what you can change. So, and that thing, connection, it's all about connection, isn't it?
Yeah. And in real, absolutely in real life, you know, we've seen over the past year a lot of people, you know, by name, you know, Billy T. Kahika, one thing that he did do that was the right strategy is he started organising, as in going to the people. Like, right. You know, we've got our Facebook thing here. That's one thing, but it's no good without going and organising little hubs around different things and supporting them and supporting, you know, actually, you know, going through whatever process, but also the sidestep of it, you know, like the, you know, like the big thing for the next 10 years is really how we produce food, how we produce fibre. It's how that's what we have and always will be as an agricultural country, and inside that does have technology involved in that. You know, like there is a part that can play, but it's not what, you know. It's disproportionately represented at the moment, and nature itself has like more technology in just one seed than what's in
definitely.
You know,
and there's a lot of seeds. There's a lot of seeds too, right?
Oh yeah. So we've got to try and you know, hopefully bring on board a more wider group of people into 2021 where, you know, these things already started. The wool thing sort of started. Unfortunately, it started to form an authoritarian hub, but, you know, we might be able to tease that into being more local, even if it's just getting some funding out of that for a local say a flax sort of industry or things like that. Hell of a lot of work to do, but it's now joining up the people. It's getting more of a customer awareness, you know, like, you know, it's sad that at the moment we've got one thing holding New Zealand back, and that's a whole heap of farmers that are radicalised against their customers. And I really mean that. That's a really bad thing. The way that farmers behave on social media or even in person to vegans is terrible, because, you know, the one golden rule at the moment is we all don't have the availability or food security of a wholesome diet, whether it's an omnivore diet, a herbivore diet, or whatever, because our food is not nutrient dense. So, you know, then there's studies coming out that have been saying, well, you can't live like a vegan. That's bloody bullshit. People have lived as vegans for a long time.
Centuries. But absolutely. But I think we also have to have some compassion for those farmers, and indeed anybody who is feeling threatened, and because, you know, their life security is, they're being fed through fear as well. So that their actions are, because they're not consciously acting, they're reacting. So it is going to come out negatively and against, you know, against vegans or whatever it is that they're against. So I think it's really important that we understand the connection between the psychology and the rhetoric feedback that comes from whichever group you're looking at, you know.
Well, it's captured,
yes, well.
Carly. That's the problem, is it's captured and it's and it's deliberate.
And it's used. Yes, I get that.
Yeah, so it's sort of like I can see that 2021 is going to be that regenerative agriculture is a threat to mainstream agriculture.
Well, regenerative culture is going to be a threat to mainstream culture, even in education, which is my passion, obviously. But we're working on a project at the moment that's really exciting, but it is kind of scary to quite a few people who are in education. So, and we can understand that. We can certainly understand that people will look at something different as threatening. Fear what you don't know.
It's an overlay rather than a replacement. You know, like the thing is the original changes to education in tomorrow's schools was a complete throw out the past and bring in this sort of future product.
But it's not.
And we've got coming back into the farming movement, which is, you know, like we all got to eat. We've got to rely on our fibre supply, our supply of building products. You know, it all comes from farming, right? But if the terms like carbon farming mean big energy companies or even foreign-owned companies are buying up sheep and beef farms and then, you know, planting them all in pine trees and leaving them to burn down, that creates the psychological idea that that's carbon farming. It's not carbon farming, it's carbon exploitation. And, you know, it's actually storing carbon above ground, which is the opposite of what regenerative agriculture and permaculture is about, because it's storing it in the ground. So, which is, you know, that's where, and see the actual people that are trying to make local markets and trying to make proper regenerative or permaculture or food forests and things like that, they're going to bear the brunt of the big corporates' nonsense. See, we've got another fire started up now down in the Port Hills. And these are just going to keep going. Because
those fires have been bizarre, haven't they? I mean, they've been lit every damn day since, I think it's since the 10th of this month.
Yeah, well, it's all because that, you know, once you reduce the biodiversity to taking out the grazing animals, then you've got all of that material, the long grass, to actually to really get the fires started.
Of course.
Yeah.
So your grazing animals make the grazing breaks, you know, and so we've sort of, you know, we saw that at prime example when we were talking in the submissions and the Kapiti thing about, you know, a great big pile of driftwood. You know, the logical thing was when, you know, you bring that up to somebody, you say, it was a great big pile of driftwood, somebody's going to come along, some matches or some petrol or whatever, going to set fire to it, and then it's going to go down and burn the thing. You know, the question is, do you have the science for that?
That's right. and Michael, how long have you been a farmer for?
yeah, but you know, like the thing is science isn't a it's not like it's not like you go to the shelf and you like or you go to a shop and say, can I have some science, please? It's like you either speak logically or methodically or something like that, you know. But so, you know, that's sort of where we're at. So, you know, it's sort of like you know, I don't know if you noticed, but the emperor's got no clothes on. And that's the thing, and everyone's standing there and saying, no, this clothes look fantastic. You know, his clothes look fantastic. So, you know, and that's where we're at. So these things come to a pressure point, but it doesn't mean that, okay, so they're doing that, you know, that's going to be quite hard to turn around because, you know, no matter which way you go, you've got to appeal to reason with an authority. But from our own perspective, like what we can do as people is it would only take 3 or 4 people to organise a big farmers market full of in.
Definitely.
Right? And maybe even 2 people. And if 2 people did that, there would be a farmers market. And it would grow and it would grow and it would grow. And if you kept the principles, like the principles are, it's affordable. That's the main thing. It's affordable, nutrient-dense food. And it's like, but all welcome to start with, to grow the market. So you're not excluding anyone, full inclusion. And it's permanent. So there's no, like a lot of the farmers markets are escalating the price for stallholders. So it's promising stallholders permanence. And that model can be then replicated right throughout the country. We're starting to then, just in that simple thing that 2 people can create, we just need those 2 people. We'll do it if we have to, but you just, in that sense, you create, like Henry Kissinger said, you control the food, you control the people. Let's turn it on its head. We control the food, we control ourselves as people. So it seems so sillily simple, but it is just as simple as that. The way that we can turn farmers into farm owners and have food sovereignty and security is to make sure that what we buy locally is returning the most to our little local community, so that our little local community are farmers and our farmers markets and stallholders and everything. Additionally, they're spending that money and cycling it through our little local economy. And that's just it. We do not need to go and find the authority to do that. We need to do that ourselves, and we just need to get stuck in. And
it would technically create kind of new jobs for these people at these markets too, right?
Look, one of the biggest things at the moment that plagues our rural communities is our loss of connection, our isolation. And one of the things like national policies will not inform our farmers of what is good, like the social good and the environmental good. Nothing will inform it faster than money. And direct connection with the customer. And our farming people need to be connected to our urban people, and vice versa, because we are only half the country when we're at each other's throats. So I've done it. I've said, farming's pollution, blah blah blah. What about all of the waste that's going into the waterways from urban wastewater? Well, why would we? We've got to fix it, but it's going to come on all of us to pay for that. And we've got to all be able to design that so that it's not some big overseas company comes along and makes millions of dollars out of us and gives us some heap of shit that doesn't work. Well, our shit.
Typically. Yeah.
I think basically what you're saying, Michael, is it's about responsibility, not accountability. Because when we take responsibility, the word response isn't responsibility. We're responding to a situation and problem solving and coming to a resolution ourselves, and it's an intrinsic thing. Accountability, which seems to be the buzzword for government and agencies and things like that. Accountability is about numbers. It's not about people. It's about blaming. You haven't done your job. You haven't done your job. You haven't done your job. And we can do that as much as we like. It's not going to solve the problem.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is
the problem yet.
I had giddy ideas about, I'm going to get into regional council and I'm going to make a difference. And, I believed that. And I've seen 2 really good people get into regional council and they can't make any more difference than what I can.
Exactly.
And so,
that's a
and
hard reality.
I dare say, potentially, it's almost the same getting elected. It's almost the same getting elected into the general election, into member of parliament. The place has got so silly.
It's a machine.
It's like it's a charade. It's all a charade, and but accepting it is letting it persist. If we actually bring the momentum as people, just with this silly little thing that I'm saying, from this point of view, from food and commerce, this is 25% of the total economy in New Zealand is our food, right? And if we control that economy ourselves, we start to create change. And it's always been said, but you can't just have change for change's sake. You've got to make sure that change, so it's a dangerous thing in a way that I'm suggesting. So that's why I'm saying that we've got to make sure that the change that we aim for is the change that we want. And the only way we can do that is full immersion and inclusion. And we've got to trial it somewhere. So we've got to do it. We've got to do it here where food is grown and live in.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's about taking responsibility, as a group of people, rather than being held accountable by an outside agency like the government, or us trying to hold the government accountable. It just seems to be a fruitless pursuit. So let's be the change, and like you said, doesn't matter what's happening up here. If we're always trying to get them to be held accountable, we're actually never going to get anywhere.
There'll be a lot of pushback, Carly, because the thing is there's a highly protected market that doesn't want to lose its market share. The thing is, the amount of innovation that would happen in 12 months of local markets having freedom in this country, you would see the amount of innovation from that local area start permeating right through into the supermarkets, into our producers. Look, even just down the road in Palmerston, there's the little farmers market they've got. There is a thriving interest created around soft cheeses and around preserves and things like that. These are all things that are traditional added value products. For years, agriculture minister after agriculture minister or primary sector industries, minister of primary industries has said, we want to add value to product. We want to do it from the export level. We can't. We've got to do it. It's always like that's the upside down way. That's upside down language. If you like Danish cheeses, they didn't come from a lab, and that's not where Danish cheeses were made. They are thousands on thousands of traditional cheesemakers, of experimentation, of competition of cheeses. You imagine how many shitty ones there was, and and the thing is, and the only way that you can truly tell, I can't tell Fonterra that some of their cheeses are absolute rubbish.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Well, if I did, I'm only going to talk to somebody with a communications degree and it'll be, well, I'm sorry that you think that. Here, have a free cheese, which would be the same.
Have a free cheese of the same exact type.
Free cheese that you've just called shit.
The only time you ever see any sort of product feedback, actually, if there's a monkey wrench in the cheese or something, or
a toenail.
Band-Aid, something like that. The thing is if we want to innovate, then it has to be that, like they say, it's going to take finance to do it. It's like we spend money on food. The finance is already there. It's that we've lost the freedom of trade locally. And if that's opened up, well, and it needs to right now, because the amount, like being able to ship huge bulk, low quality food is gone. Like the shipping lines, like this is going to be the absolute. Doesn't matter who was the US president or what have you. There is going to be turmoil in those shipping routes now for the next 15, maybe 20 years, maybe a whole generation. So what we ship must be added value, and it must be to our discerning customers, our high-end value customers. We must secure those trade routes or those trade supply, and the best way to do it, not the only way, but the best way to do it, is through fair trade agreements. And at the moment, there's a huge one begging in the EU, because in the Brexit deal, that's sort of not a deal or whatever, there's been such a huge resurgence of farmers and customers over there that do not want our cheaper product being dumped on them. And when New Zealand farmers were asked the same question when the British went and dumped cheap cheese on us, we didn't want it either. So let's do the honest thing, and let's create a fair trade agreement like we had with Britain, and which was when we were one of the wealthiest countries in the world. So, we can't forget our history, and some of it's worth repeating.
And in terms of that being in the political spectrum, it's pretty dangerous, right?
What's that?
History repeating itself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is a good thing to repeat, but there is a lot of history, Sam, that is repeating itself, and that's sort of, that's pointed finger at Carly, really. It comes down to education. It's like learning history has to be sexy. Like history, it's like
it also has to be taught critically, as in understanding bias and understanding that history is perceived by very many different views.
Yeah, and I mean, there won't be anybody that's watching or watches any of what we're saying that wouldn't be unaware that, something that might happen yesterday can have 10 different variations of supposedly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it becomes subjective what the truth is, because the thing is it's sort of like, it goes back to this. There's the cookie jar, it's empty. You say to the kids, okay, which one of you bastards ate all the cookies? And they say, well, it was her. And that one says it was him. And then someone says, oh, the lid was off in the mouth and I ate it, So it's and adults are the same. And for geopolitical reasons, a lot of things that happen, well, I guess the thing is, the first thing that once, we are a world at war. We've never not been at war. We've been at conquest for domination, for trade, for conquest of lands, for resources. That's just how it's been. And the thing is when you're at war, the first casualty is truth. And, maybe we'll never know the truth in some things, but the
truth of that is that the cookie jar is empty. That's the truth.
Get some more cookies.
Yeah, just get some more cookies. Why do you have to find out who did what? And that's again that responsibility rather than accountability. Okay, the cookie jar's empty. Let's all put some money in and go and buy some more cookies. And then the problem's solved.
Problem solved.
Yeah, exactly. So the truth is what is, it's not what people think it was or who did it or whatever it is. The truth is what exactly is there.
Yeah. Just before we end it off, We'll end it off in a couple minutes. Unfortunately, I see that sad face. I'm sorry. The host has to end the stream soon. It's not my bedtime yet, but
Close.
the algorithm might mess up if we stream for too long. So just going forward with Atika, I know this is a recap live stream, but maybe we could clip this. What are your plans for the start in the first quarter of 2021 for Atika? One of you can answer that.
Oh, well, look, the biggest part is, we're still, getting to grips with how to, life's too short to be bouncing down in the same spot. And so, we've met a hell of a lot of really cool people. We've met a lot of good people in authority positions that we want to be able to support. And help them help us all. But we've got to, we've gone from being just people into a situation where you've got to, this is such unusual times. You can't, to work out how to navigate your way through the what we're living in now, it's the how is what we're probably 75% worked out how we can progress things forward and have progressive change. Doesn't mean that we're well beyond finishing learning or making mistakes. And that's the thing. If you're not prepared to learn by your mistakes, but yeah, our big thing is now to start moving things on little bits at the little bits at a time. Got a lot of projects that that have fallen by the wayside that I have to pick up in 2021. One particular one around food safety, and in food safety I mean crop safety residues. That's going to be a particularly long process to unwind, and it's very, very, very serious consequences if I stuff that up. Really, it's got a wide-ranging effect on all of us, and unfortunately, these people are living proof, unfortunately, of a system that doesn't work for us as people. So that's going to be a big project, and of course all our existing ones that we've started, they've still got to progress on. They won't go away. But
for us as a project, it's building our membership is going to be a necessity. Yeah, and that's a hive of people that really and I mean it's a choice. You come into Atika. You're not making up numbers. You really do want to make a change. You want to start really helping us all help ourselves, and that's like I said, there's a project. Farmers markets anywhere in this country. These are things. They just take a handful of people to organise it. All you've got to do is find the location, any race course, any sports ground, any community grounds, any community halls, and then you've just got to go and see local growers and things like that, and you'll find that some of the local newspapers will advertise for free, and that's not always the thing, but it's a sometimes thing. But the main thing is let's all build this together and really get it going. We've still got the thing with the super berries.
You know, that's something that's definitely got to change. It's a battle and a half. But you know, it's all part and parcel of protecting the environment, and you know, that battle in itself, it's more about repatriation of lands that are significant culturally to the culture that really does have stewardship, or needs to have the stewardship back, which is iwi. And and you know, it's a great thing because you know, that's something that that is their food basket, you know, and it is spiritually, very, very spiritually important for that land to be repatriated back, and the respect, especially for well, not especially for any iwi, and that's all iwi, not one or two, but everybody, you know, and you know, that's really, it's really just that one substance that has been stuck in the way between, you know, the people of New Zealand and the Indigenous people of New Zealand. And, you know, I refuse to back down on that, and so do iwi, and that's just enormous. So, you know, we're gonna keep going on that. So yeah, so there's, you know, but yeah, the farmers markets things, that's a big thing, and you know, the national policies are all going to come up. All of that stuff's going to come up. We've got the lake. We've got
Lake Horror Whenua.
Yeah,
maybe we should release that on Halloween next year.
Oh, we've got to finish it before then. We've got to get out there.
Yeah.
But very conscious of this, of the you know, food safety issues. We've got to get onto that, and it's just
productive wetlands.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, all those things.
Lots to do.
Yeah. And I mean, hopefully, you know, it's you know, like I really think that I don't think we can take. I think the community done really, really well with the super berries, and I think that we can, if that can be carried on to other things as well, you know, the level of opportunity, especially in our little area, or what we could create, you know, just want to see that going right throughout the country. I'm just not happy at all that you know, we don't have our value as people, and that's really what that's our 2021 thing, which is sort of a core value, is that we need to, as a society, increase our value, and be respected, you know. So
that's right.
Yeah.
No, it's brilliant. I mean, if we can get the community together for other issues like, you know, the super berries and all that, I'm sure that's just something that, you know, should be able to spread throughout the country. And I won't say too much about it, it's a little spoiler, but behind the scenes a lot of stuff does happen legally, in terms of this super berry situation, so you just have to see what happens in 2021.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Awesome. Carly, did you just want to say something?
Not really. On my part, you know, I'm working at the moment to put a few inroads in education and in the education system around inclusion, and so that's quite a big project for me, and I will update people as I go along. I've already had a meeting with the ministry, which was interesting. It wasn't a bad meeting at all. Very, very affirming. But it's about connecting the dots and having somebody connect those dots. There's a lot of dots out there, all doing some really great stuff, you know. But out there in isolation instead of working together and actually creating sustainable change. And it's exactly the same as agriculture or anything else. It's trying to regenerate education. Have a strong vision, shared vision of what we want, who we want to be.
I mean, from a welfare perspective, I guess today was the first admission by the state, which is something that we've already known for a long time because of where we live in Levin, living in Levin. So that's doesn't matter. But so we had Kauteri boys, we had Kimberley. Kimberley was a hospital for the mentally impaired. Kimberley boys was for wards of the state, boys like Sam that were naughty, and they got uplifted, and they got put in there to be re-educated. They were re-education homes. We've known for a long, long time, because it's part of our culture, we've known that there's been hundreds of suicides. And these are the victims of systemic abuse in Kauteri boys, which involved police, politicians. It involved people visiting. It involved ambassadors that would visit this country, and they would have free access to these young kids. It was the Labour government that actually disbanded both of these things, but it's now the Labour government, many years on, that for all of the Clark years, it didn't do anything about it. And under Jacinda Ardern, which, got to be gracious here, at least she's done something. And this is something that, it is not good enough just to admit this. It is something that we have to learn from. But what we can learn from it is exactly what we're going on about here. We are losing our connectivity as a community, and we have grown the state and the authority to epic proportions, and we need to shrink it, and we need to allow our communities to grow firm, strong, and safe. And the only way we can do that is by these people have to get the boot off our necks, and we need our freedoms. So, it's something that still carries on to this day. We, as they've had this inquiry about, basically 60 years of abuse, it's still carrying on in the current model. There's been thousands of children uplifted and pepper potted into white families, a lot of Maori and Pacifica babies. Some that have been actually taken, uplifted from good families and sent overseas. So this isn't something that can be just swept away. And, I know this because it's fact, because we all know as people, the way things are going, we might not know what's happening to us, the way the censorship and things like that are going, and the way that the stranglehold is increasing, which is a lot of it has come out of the inspiration of the UK and even America. So, that's it's a huge admission, but still not far enough. And as people call for the resignation of the head of the current, what used to be SIPS, maybe that's not far enough. Maybe it's really looking at the whole structural change to this country, where we reduce the size of the authorities and we give people back their dignity and give them back their own authority. So that's I think that's probably give us back our own authority is probably what we learned in 2020.
Yeah, that's right. 20. Yeah, that's what we did need.
Depoliticize social development, education, and health. Actually, that's what needs to happen. It needs to become a public service Nothing to do with politics.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's right.
all private companies for that matter. I mean, I think it was probably
Absolutely.
I think it would have been quite an eye opener for people that were probably quite pro green schools to see what a private corporation can turn a green school into. So I think that was one thing that we learnt in the election, and that's not at all an alternative. That's as crazy as
service is certainly not a private one.
No.
And they need to be funded publicly. They need to be run as services, not as political footballs.
Yes, and I mean the big thing is too that to get the inclusion is that it's you've no matter where you go, which was one of the things that was the mantra, was wherever you go in this country, you would have access to the best quality education that you could get, and that's
which is
that's
so true.
no,
It's just not happening.
no. So anyway, Sam, you're trying to end the stream, and we're
Yes.
hot. So,
Right as you said end of the stream, we dropped to 3 viewers from 7. Holy heck, where'd you guys go? Alright, well I guess we'll end it. We've only got 3 viewers now.
Meri kere mete to everyone, to all 3 of you.
Awesome. Alright, well that's it for us. I think, are we going to be doing a live stream, or are we going to kind of do some sort of different schedule right after Christmas Day?
maybe a New Year's
A
Eve
New
one or
Year's, so there won't be a live stream maybe for the next week or 2 roughly. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, if you don't see us, we're celebrating. Hopefully we don't eat too much food and explode, and then we'll never be able to come back on these live streams. But let's just hope that the Christmas Day and New Year is gonna go all good, and we hope everyone has a good Merry Christmas also.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And yeah.
Oh yeah, I wish I had some Christmas music. I'd jam it at the end, but I don't. Alright, that's it for us. Have a good one, everyone.
Ka kite.
Ka kite anō.
Alright, that's a wrap.
Excellent.